Season 5, episodes 1 and 2 of The Chosen, or as they're calling it in the theaters, Last Supper Part 1 just dropped. What did I think? Well, let's talk about it.
Listen carefully, because I'm going to tell you what is about to happen.
Hi everyone, my name is Bob and welcome to Was It Good, where I give you my movie and TV show reviews. And today we're going to be talking about The Chosen Last Supper Part 1, which are episodes 1 and 2 of Season 5. Now, before I get into this review, I do want to let you know that this is going to be spoiler-free, as these episodes are only getting a limited theatrical release, so I don't want to have any spoilers out there. But there might be a couple plot points that I am going to touch on because they would be considered common knowledge, or in the trailer, or because you've read your Bible, or have seen another adaptation of this story. Now, if you've seen Part 1, I'd like to know what you thought. Why don't you go ahead and share your comments in the comment section below? Let me know. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Were you a fan of the show prior to these episodes? Is this something you're even looking forward to? I'd really like to know what you thought. Don't forget to hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Now let's get to it. In The Chosen Last Supper Part 1, Jesus rides into the holy city as king, but finds his father's house has been turned from a place of prayer into a corrupt market. As the Jewish high priest schemes against the would-be Messiah, Jesus strikes first, turning the tables on the religious corruption. Now, I've said on this channel before that I'm a big fan of this show. As I started watching it a little over a year ago, I binged seasons 1 through 3 just in time for season 4. And where season 4 ended, it really left me in a place of anticipation as Jesus was riding towards Jerusalem for the triumphal entry. And you had this sense of uneasiness as you as a viewer knew what was going to happen. But there's this anticipation with the crowds and with his disciples. And so I was really looking forward to seeing how they would handle this come season 5. So now that I've seen it, was it worth the wait? Let me start out by saying I think this show continues to be extremely well made, as Dallas Jenkins and the rest of the creative team are able to balance out all of the storylines and characters and character arcs. And I think that they've done a really good job. And as far as how they brought them all together this season, it feels like several of those are beginning to come to a head. And there's a couple of new ones beginning to form. For example, one of the disciples seems like he's beginning to understand exactly what's going to happen, because up until this point, Mary Magdalene was really the only one who understood. In fact, in season 4, she was Jesus actually mentioned to her, the reason why you understand is because you've been listening. And so it seems like one of the other characters is beginning to get it. And so I thought that that was an interesting arc. And you look at that one plus all of the past ones now feel like they're going to beginning to come to a head. So I think they've done a really good job of bringing all of this together. In fact, they've also brought back several other characters, some of which I thought were just kind of throwaway characters, and now they're in these episodes. And so it was kind of fun to see them, and their storylines were brought back in. And I think that the creative team has done a really good job of balancing this all together. Next, I think the triumphal entry was handled very well. To be honest, I expected some long, drawn out scene, and it's not that. It actually gets to the point, and there's some symbolism that occurs during the triumphal entry, some of which you find out a little bit later, and some you see right away, and that comes back into play a little bit later as well, that I thought to mean one thing, and it turns out it actually meant something else. And I thought that was very interesting the way that was done. And then once he actually gets into the city, you're seeing all of this hustle and bustle, and I like the little details as Jesus is actually teaching at one point, and you see a crowd gathering around him, but you see people just coming and going all around him, doing their own thing and minding their own business, because there would have been people there that were just there to celebrate the Passover. They weren't really concerned with Jesus being in the city. And so I thought that that was really cool. You just saw everything kind of still going on. Nothing stopped just because Jesus was there, but you did have large amounts of people there to listen to him and were anticipating his entry. So I thought that it was really cool that they showed that while having all those little details of all of everything else that was going on in the city around them. Also, I think that the show really continues to deliver on some good character moments. Some of my favorite include some moments with Rabbi Yusuf, John, Peter, but Jonathan Roumie continues to hit it out of the park with his performance of Jesus, and you really feel the character's sorrow for the city of Jerusalem and the trouble that he feels in his spirit with knowing what's going to happen. So I think that he has really brought his A game in these latter seasons, and he's always hit it out of the park, but he's done exceptionally well, and the beginning of this season is no different. Finally, I want to talk about a couple of interesting story choices. First is how episode 1 and 2 began, as it takes a specific event that's going to occur later in the season, and it starts with that event. And it's probably not really a spoiler at this point, but it starts with this one event, and I'm curious to know if we're actually just going to see that event played out at the beginning of every episode, or if it's going to all come back together and we'll see the full scene all played out at a later point. So I thought that was an interesting choice. And the second story point is Jesus overturning the tables in the temple. I think that it was incredibly well handled because Dallas Jenkins has done a really good job of making the city feel like it's a powder keg and it's just waiting for the right spark to explode. And the way that it's done is so incredibly intense and it leaves off on an incredible cliffhanger. So I think that they do a really good job with that. Plus, there's some setup to it prior to where you really understand why Jesus is upset at this, and I actually got a little bit more information as I learned a little bit more about how the changing of money happened, the selling of the goats and lambs, and how all of that was handled in the temple. And so I had a better understanding of the way that was done and why Jesus would have been upset by this. So I think that that whole event was incredibly well done. Now, as usual, I don't have a whole lot of negatives to say about this show, but the biggest issue that I do have with episodes 1 and 2 is that they are very exposition heavy, especially with the second one. I feel like they're trying to just give out a lot of information, and some of it is very important because it's necessary for the background to understand why certain characters react the way they do. But other exposition was already established in previous seasons. Now, it could be there because the newer viewers need to know what's going on, but I do think that they get a little too exposition heavy, specifically one particular scene between King Herod and Caiaphas. There's a lot of dialogue that goes on there, and some of it are things that we've already established, where some of the conversation I would have liked to have heard a little bit more from that area of the conversation. So I did want to go ahead and point out, but other than the exposition, I really don't have anything bad to say about this. Real quick, before I get into my final thoughts, I want to go ahead and remind everyone to go ahead and check out the other reviews on my channel. Maybe I've reviewed something that you're interested in or something that you've seen already and you'd like to let me know what you thought about it. Also, for those that are interested, I do have another YouTube channel with a couple of my friends where we put on a show called Dad's Turn to Talk. This is an opportunity for three dads to get together and talk about the things that we want to talk about, including movies, sports, pop culture, and have a little bit of fun at each other's expense. The link to that channel will be in the description below. Final thoughts. Was it good? I thought this was a solid start to the season that fans are going to be pleased with. I thought it was well acted, directed, the storylines are all coming together, and I think that they've done a really good job of just making the city feel like it's a powder keg just waiting to explode. So I think there's a lot of anticipation with what's going on, and you as a viewer are really feeling this going on. Overall, like I said, this is a solid start to the season, and fans will be pleased with it. Now, if you're still watching this long, I'd like to thank you for joining me. Don't forget to hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time.